Hello, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Bullpen and Beyond podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about how just the Cubs are looking overall less than 2 weeks away from opening day against the Nationals, 1:20 p.m., March 26th. And we're also going to be talking about the two latest wins the Cubs had in spring training. And we're also going to be talking about some hot takes and how certain people, certain players on the Cubs are looking heading into the final games. First, we're going to be talking about the Royals versus the Cubs game. Matt Halbach, a prospect for the Cubs, I think is an outfielder, might be third base. He walked it off against the Royals and they won 9-8. There were some good flashes from guys like Ian Happ with the 2-run double, Chas McCormick, a former Astros player, had a nice little home run. Michael Conforto's looking good, and we're getting good flashes of that. And really solid win there. And right now our current record after the Mariners win is 9-10, which is solid because in 2016 when the Cubs won the World Series, they actually were 11-19 in spring training. So we are just below that right now. I don't think there's going to be that many games because that's 31 games and there's only 12 more days till opening day for the Cubs, but still, you can just take that into perspective based off how the Cubs are doing so far this spring training, leading into the last week. So, there was also 1984 when they had Mark Grace, Sammy Sosa, Ryan Sandberg. They were 7-20. So if you just take that into perspective, then those are good stats to compare the Cubs currently right now. And they had a good win against the Mariners, 7-4. Matthew Boyd was looking good because he's actually on Team USA, but for the WBC. But he came back and pitched good. Edward Cabrera, they gave him another. They just gave him a nice little relief appearance, but still 3 innings and got 3 strikeouts. Good, solid start for both of those guys, just the past couple times I've seen them. And that was looking good. Good offensive ability. Ian Happ looking good also in that game. And yeah, today I also want to talk about Matt Shaw. I saw an article and I was watching the game. He got his first reps in right field, I think, maybe left. I think it was right. And he was looking good. There was some miscues, but he was looking good. And another thing I'm going to talk about is the hot takes, because one of them is Matt Shaw going to get traded at the All-Star break? The issue I have with this is I think it's a good take in some cases, but the thing is I feel like they'll still keep him because he only is in his second year on the Cubs and in the MLB in general. But the thing is, I don't think they really need him unless his offensive ability is going to increase a decent amount in the first couple months of the season. Because they can have Moses Ballesteros, who is doing pretty good so far this spring training. They can have him at DH because he's not really a catcher. And then they already have Seiya Suzuki, PCA, and Ian Happ. So they don't really need Matt Shaw. But if he brings good offensive ability, which he had a decent season last year doing that, but the batting average was kind of low because unless you're like a big power guy, you can't really have that, like a 230, 220 batting average for a club's organization. So if he gets up to like 260 or gets good RBIs, gets a little more contact going, then I think they will keep him. But it might be a possibility that he is traded by the All-Star break just because they brought Alex Bregman in. Another hot take I want to talk about is if Ben Brown isn't moved to the minor leagues. If Ben Brown stays in the minor leagues, like he's brought down and not and he doesn't go back up to the MLB. But if he stays in the MLB, he will have a better ERA than Shota Imanaga. Shota Imanaga, the thing is, him and Jamison Tyone are kind of like a little bit too home run pitchers. I mean, everyone gives up home runs, but they're more prone to do it, so that's what leads to the higher ERA. I think like 3.5, maybe 4 something, 4.5 ERA. But I think Ben Brown I think he's more a ground ball pitcher, so I think he would actually have a better ERA than Shota, just maybe more long term as the season goes on. And they might have him in for less innings, even though he can also come in for relieving roles as a relief pitcher in certain scenarios and games that the Cubs are in. Because if they only put him in for 5 innings, but he's doing really good in those 5 innings, but then they stretch out Shota for 6 or 7 innings, then the ERA will be kind of higher for Shota Imanaga. And the next one I want to talk about is if Kevin Alcantara makes the opening day roster, or at some point in the season, just like last year at some point in the season, he will have a better OPS than Ian Happ and Dansby Swanson, either one. Because I think he's got some good power. The slug's there, on-base percentage looking good, and I think some tools are slightly better. He's younger, and I think it would look good because Dansby Swanson and Ian Happ are good, but you never know. You could just have a breakout year and have a really good OPS, so we'll see with that. But I think the Cubs are looking good. Alex Bregman, I don't think I talked about this in the last the last podcast. But Alex Bregman, back-to-back days, hit 2 home runs for Team USA against the Rockies and then against the Giants. And he hit the first home run for Team USA. So he's looking good, even though they're on Team USA. Same with PCA. He crushed 2 home runs against Italy. So that was insane too. And they're moving on. So I think we're looking good 12 days out from opening day for the Cubs organization. And with those hot takes, we'll just see if they make Ben Brown, if they have him in the opening day roster. If Kevin Alcantara's looking good, I think he's having a solid spring training. And we'll also see if Matt Shaw gets traded, because like I said, they might not need him as much, because unless the offensive ability increases by a lot, I don't think it's really necessary to keep him. But stay tuned next time for the next week's on Saturday Cubs Bullpen and Beyond podcast. Thank you.